guys, how's it going? So we're just working on a few quick things out in the garden today. I want to get my garlic planted, which I'm actually early getting this done. Last year it was November, like mid-November when I got it in the ground. I still had a really great harvest, so kind of goes to show you have a pretty good window of time to get your garlic in the ground and still be fine and still have your garlic do really well. I also want to reseed some lettuce, and I want to give you a progress update on how our root cellar installation is going in the barn. There were a few things that were done this week, so I do have a little progress to show you. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but if we look back here, you can see how smoky it is out here. It's pretty socked in. A couple of days ago, we started to get the smoke from the fires that are happening on the western side of the state. So we've really just been trying to stay inside as much as possible. We've been keeping things watered, and I had this little window of time. I thought, you know what, garlic planting does not take very long. I'm gonna run out here, get it done, and show you my process. We've also had a lot of messages from you guys this past week in particular, wondering if we're doing okay, because we do live in Oregon. We live on the other side of the state from all the fires. There are a couple of fires that are burning semi near us, but we are in no immediate danger. We're just getting kind of the smoke-filled skies. So let me show you what's in the back of the trailer, and we will get with this project so I can get back inside. So here's what I've got. We've got a few bags of the Land and Sea compost. I've got my new kneeling pad. I'm super excited to use this big, thick, cushy thing today. I've got a Biotone starter fertilizer. Got my garlic here. Look at how pretty. It's beautiful garlic. A digging fork to kind of help me turn the soil over, my gloves, and then my lettuce seed. And you know, I can actually give you a quick update on how my fall crops in here are doing too. So these are the two beds I saved for garlic, right here and here. They're the only two beds that don't have anything other than some leftover cabbage that resprouted in them. I actually don't think I'm gonna plant both of these completely full of garlic like I originally thought, because that's a lot of garlic. Here are a few of the things I planted the other day. This is interesting. I can't remember how many days it's been since I put these in the ground. We'll put it on the screen. But I planted dwarf blue curled Scotch kale here, and it goes around the corner there. And they all follow the same pattern, but I've got white bunching onions I planted from sets, which are much bigger, pretty much ready to use at this point. And then I planted from seed. You can see the difference in the growth rate here, but the seeds are all coming up, so we will have more green onions. It's kind of nice because I can use these first, and then these will probably be ready by the time I'm done with those. And then we've got lacinato kale, starting here, going around the backside. I planted spinach in this bed. Overall, pretty good stand. It looks like just right there. It's a little bit sparse, but it will fill in. Spinach grows quick. And here's the other bed and cheddar. But radishes there, those were up in about 4 days. Lettuce, so I actually messed up the lettuce right here. I turned the hose on, didn't realize it was on a jet spray, and I made a huge hole right there. Dislodged all the seeds, so I'll pop some new seeds right there. But in this row and this row, I planted Marvel of Four Season lettuce, and almost none of it came up. I mean, maybe I need to be more patient. There's a few. Okay, Cheddar, you gotta move so I can show him the lettuce. You're standing on it. And there's a little bit right there. Not great. So that's where I'm gonna reseed more butter crunch. Here and then in these two rows. Now, as far as thinning these radishes, I saw a lot of questions on how I do that. It's really easy. You can see, like right here, these look pretty good, pretty nicely spaced, but then it gets really thick. All I do is I come in and I just pull the ones I don't want. Just like this. And then you may need to tamp some soil around the seedling that's left, like that, so that you make sure it's like nice and upright and it won't get dislodged by any water. And then you can use these little radish sprouts in salads. I give mine to the chickens. You know what, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and thin all these real quick before I move on to the next thing. Maybe that's why my lettuce didn't come up. Russell and Cheddar, oh my gosh. You too, no, no, no. Out you go. Out you go. Out, out, out. Now they're gonna do some fighting. It's all play, you guys. They never get real mean. here, sweetie. Hi. Well, the 2 chickens, which are not currently trying to lay eggs, the other 2 are trying. They're in their nesting boxes right now. They don't seem too awful interested in my radish sprouts. You guys are getting too spoiled. If it's not mealworms, they're like, don't really care. Well, that looks a heck of a lot better. They have enough room now to grow and develop properly. They will look a little bit floppy, like if you don't thin them until they get this big. I could have thinned them a long time ago. They'll look a little bit kind of weak and floppy, but they'll stand more upright and more kind of firm, really just in like the next day or so. They just need to get used to their new normal here. So since I'm already working in this bed, I'm gonna go ahead and reseed my lettuce real quick before we start garlic. Planting lettuce is always easy. It only needs to be buried, like the seed needs to be covered with about 1/8 of an inch of soil, so not very deep at all. In fact, I kind of just make a very loose kind of small trench with my fingers, sprinkle the lettuce seed, and then just kind of scratch over it lightly. And some of it doesn't even get covered completely. And usually I have really good luck with it. The marvel of 4 seasons though, every time I plant that variety, it never comes up either reliably, very well, like it's always a weak stand. So I don't know what the deal is with that seed, but it's honestly kind of a good thing because it'll be like I have a succession planting of lettuce. I'll have this first crop that's already up. I can use on that, and then while the other stuff is developing, and then I can start to use the other lettuce. So anyway, super, super easy. I already amended this bed when I planted with the compost and biotone, so we've already got some nice rich soil. So now we're gonna move on to garlic. I'm trying to decide how I'm gonna plant this because I really do want it to look balanced, because this is where the garden kind of comes together, and we have our 4 L-shaped beds. So like maybe I will do this section and that section and leave these ends that are on the interior open for something else. So planting garlic is incredibly easy to do. I love that we can do it in the fall when we're not as crazed to get everything else in the ground. We can kind of take our time with it. You do want to make sure to amend the area you're planting these, because all alliums are heavy feeders, so onions and garlic, all those shallots, all those sorts of things. So that's why I'm using the Land and Sea compost and the biotone starter fertilizer. They will probably come up a little bit because it's early, like I'm early this year, it's warmish out, so they will start to sprout, and that's totally fine. They can withstand snow, ice, freezing, doesn't matter. Don't need to worry about it. And then in the spring, they'll just pick up and start growing again. And you do need to be mindful about fertilizing again in the spring though. You want to do a spring feed with Garden Tone and then another feed usually. Sometimes I don't get around to the second feed, but it's ideal if you do like late spring. We harvest right around 4th of July, like right around that week. Takes about 2 weeks to let them dry and cure. And then we move them into storage, which we've done videos about before. And then I just utilize some of my whatever I've harvested. So I harvested these around 4th of July, and then I'm gonna use these as my seed crop for my next year's harvest. So it's something that's super easy to perpetuate. Now a couple of different terms you'll hear, hard neck versus soft neck. A couple of basic differences between those. I like to plant Italian. This is a soft neck garlic. They tend to store a little bit better. They're also a tiny bit more mild in flavor, I think, than hard neck, although I don't think I would probably be able to tell unless I was doing a taste comparison. Like I had them all lined up in front of me and I could taste one right after another. I probably wouldn't be able to tell. They're typically a little bit more irregular in shape. You can see I lost some of my paper around these 2 outer cloves. So you'll get a lot of cloves kind of layered on each other with a soft neck. With a hard neck, it's typically a stem with bigger cloves that just surround it, like one layer of bigger cloves. Soft necks you can braid, hard necks they don't braid very well if that's how you want to store them. So what happens is I've got this one clove here. This clove that I plant this year will turn into this next year. Isn't that incredible that plants do that? Like it just, sometimes think about it, it's really amazing. So this one head of garlic will probably turn into, I'm guessing, 10, 11, 12 heads of garlic next year. So it doesn't take very many heads to plant a whole bunch, like a whole crop of garlic. One thing I haven't addressed in videos, and my sister-in-law was actually planting garlic the other day, and she texted me and she was like, you know what, my garlic is so tight, like the skin is so tight, I can't manipulate the cloves off very easily. How can I do this without breaking the papery skin? Because you want to leave as much of that intact as possible to keep moisture away from the raw clove. So the thing you can do is, one, you can just be brave. I mean, you can get in there and just kind of like rock it with your hands to where you get it loosened up. You can also try to get like a butter knife and pop it, like slide it underneath one of the cloves. Like if you slid it right here, and you could kind of gently ease it out if you needed to do that. So she said that worked really well to do it that way. I know when you're first doing it, you're like, I don't want to ruin anything. So it's okay to, like, it's best if the papery skin is all the way around the clove. I've planted ones though, like for example what I just did, papery clove all the way around, two sides. This side's fairly exposed. I'll still plant it and it'll probably be fine, unless you live in an area that gets like a ton of water. Okay, let me break this one apart and see how many we're gonna get. 19. From that one head of garlic, we will get 19 heads of garlic next year. Now if you have a lot to choose from, like a lot of heads of garlic that you've harvested, go ahead and just plant all the big, nice cloves, because that's more likely to give you a really nice, big harvest, like big heads, and just utilize the smaller cloves in the kitchen. I'm gonna go ahead and plant all of these. I typically feed mine pretty good, and they always size up pretty nice. So what I'm gonna do is pour in some compost, Biotone starter fertilizer. I'm gonna turn it over with a garden fork, just kind of mix it in. Then I make a trench about 2 inches deep. I space these cloves out, pointy side up. So you see that's the root side right there. That's where the roots will come out. This is where the shoot will come out right here. So we'll place these in the trench, pointy side up every 4 inches, cover them over, water them in, and then we'll be done. Pretty easy. So here we go. And the planting for the 2021 harvest is done. 194 cloves went in, so we'll have 194, hopefully, heads of garlic next season. And this is what I'm left with right here. I planted 120. I think I got 115 heads harvested this year out of the 120 I planted, which is really good. But really, this isn't enough to last us. To be honest, we go through so much garlic, and now that we're gonna have a root cellar to store it properly, it will store even longer. That's why I planted a little bit more this year. Oh, it's so pretty. And look at this over here. So Someone's taking a nap. Hi, Russell. You look very peaceful, buddy. Anyway, the root cellar that we're putting in here, Aaron and I are actually not doing ourselves. That's why I just kind of want to give you periodic updates. We're not like filming the whole process. We have a man, his name's Eddie, who helps us with kind of odd jobs. Like he built the chicken run. He put our greenhouse up, the vegetable garden fence, the wainscoting in Benjamin's nursery. He's just amazing at what he does. And he does a great job, like way better than Aaron or I could. So this is where the root cellar is going right here. In fact, let me just pop right back out the barn real quick and we'll walk in so you can kind of see it a little bit better perspective. So there's the greenhouse, the barn. It's right inside this middle bay right here. So if you walk in, right here, I think the last time I showed this area to you, it was still a cubby. Like there was a wall here, there was a wood floor there, and we were just storing random stuff back there. We just thought, you know what? This is the perfect area to install a root cellar, like an above ground temperature controlled room. It honestly just feels like the next natural step. When you start growing more things, you need a better way to store them so that you can store them through the, you know, the whole of winter into the next season and still be eating off of them. I mean, right now, I'm growing so much that I give a lot of it away and I still want to be able to do that, but I also want to be able to hang on to a little bit more of it so that we have some fresh stuff that I grew organically that I did myself. There's something about that, eating that food that makes you just feel good. And so this just feels like it's something I've wanted to do for the last few years, something I've always wanted to, but it just didn't really work out until this fall. So I'm really excited about it. So the first thing he did was rip the floor up, which it was just dirt underneath. That was dug out like 4 inches down. And then he came in and cut the concrete out about another foot and maybe about another 6 or 9 inches this way, because the concrete was poured here after the barn was here. So this used to be a horse barn, and then when the previous owners bought it, they wanted to use it as a garage more than, you know, for livestock. So they had a floor poured just kind of right here, and it just met all of the sides, you know, so like right here the concrete stops and it's dirt, and then the concrete picks up on the other side and takes off. So that's why there was still dirt underneath that wood floor. So now it's all level. He just poured this last night, so we're just letting it cure. The next step is to build up a floor, build the walls, drop a ceiling down, and then we will put high density insulation, which is 4 inches thick. So we'll lose like a tiny bit of space on all sides and the floor because we want the entire like cube to be insulated. And then we will have an AC unit, a small one, cut into the back of the barn. It'll go out the back side so we won't even see it, which is perfect. And we have a thing called a CoolBot, which I believe is a way that you can monitor the temperature and control it from your phone, which is how we try to do everything around here. And then we will bring in electric, so we have a light in there, and we'll run a light bulb in the winter. That's what my parents do with their root cellar, just to take the edge off the cold. It won't be a heated room, but just with that little bit of heat from the light bulb and so the insulation, it seems to work really well. We did mirror this after the one out at my parents' house. They had one put in years ago in the back of one of their barns. It's worked out really well for them. In fact, I did no research on above ground root cellars. I typically don't. Like if something is working really well for somebody for years, I'm like, I just do it that way. That works great. It seems very simple. And then I don't flood my brain with tons of information and tons of ideas to where it gets overwhelming and I can't decide what I want to do. So we just went with it. The only thing I'm doing differently is I am not putting in built-in shelves yet. That's something my parents did, and they're not adjustable. So I think that they would, if they could go back, they would choose to use the space maybe for a year with shelves that they put in, so they could see how they utilize it, like how tall they need each individual shelf to be. Like I know my mom would like some smaller shelves, like where she could put jars of things where they wouldn't have to be stacked one on top of the other. So I think we're gonna just use our own shelving units. I have a harvest rack from Gardener's Supply I'd like to put in here, and eventually we may put in kind of built-ins that are adjustable, but I just kind of wanted to hold off on that. So basically what Eddie's doing is creating an insulated cube with the AC unit for now, and then Aaron and I will outfit it with shelves and such. So it's all very exciting, and I cannot wait for it to be done. And we will still have room if we should ever want to park one of our trucks in here. We could do that. There's still plenty of room in here. Not that we ever will, who knows? So you guys, that is it for this morning's project. I'm super happy to have that done. And really all I need to do now is just do a little bit of watering. Everything's holding so well because let me tell you what the temperature, like the low temperature for tonight is 46. That's pretty chilly. Like last week it got down to 39 2 of the nights. So it takes forever in the day for it to get to our high temperatures. Like I can wear 2 layers in the morning and I usually have to take one off by midday, like I'm about ready to take my vest off before I water. But it keeps things moist for so much longer. I'm not having to water like a ton of our pots. I can skip a couple of days. In-ground stuff I'm not watering anymore. So it takes like, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes rather than an hour and 15 minutes, which is like midsummer watering. So it's kind of nice. Anyway, I'm gonna get that done and head inside and hang out in there for the rest of the day and avoid some smoke. So anyway, I hope you guys are all doing really good. I hope you're having a great day and we will see you in the next video. Bye.